Hi crafty friends, Michelle Houghton here from Copic in the Craft Room. I'm over at D2BA Artzy sharing a little tutorial today. So I've got my MISTI set up, or a stamp platform set up, and I just stamped some snowflakes with Versamark ink. And then I'm going to use embossing powder over those. Sorry for the hair in the shot and the fact that you can see my feet off to the side. I am still learning my new filming technique with my iPad, and so some of the shots are a little awkward, so I apologize for that. So I've got the embossing on there. I am going to do a second one at the same time. So you're going to, I'm really just playing with this technique. It's new to me. I'm fiddling around with this, or I'm just trying something different, and so it's one of these that you're going to see my mistakes as well. So Versamark again, and the reason I'm doing this the second time is I've already realized without heat embossing the first is that I missed a bunch of the snowflakes, and I didn't realize that. So I'm trying to hit them really hard, get the second set with that Versamark a little bit better. I think my ink pad is a little dry in this case, and so I think that's the biggest issue. So I've got plenty of powder in my tray, embossing powder, so I'm just going back and kind of picking that up, and I have and dusting that off real gently. And then I'm going to heat emboss both of those, and then they will be ready. I'm going to use an airbrush, Copic Airbrush on that. So I'm leaving this down low so you guys can really see the whole process this time, which I don't always show this, but I've got a heat gun and I get that plugged in, and then I'm circling over those snowflakes. It does take time and patience, and so you just kind of circle slowly, hold it a little bit of a distance away from the paper so you don't curl and burn the paper. And we are now up on the table, and I'm getting my airbrush system ready to go. I'm starting with a V22. And what you're seeing me doing is readjusting that nib to get the ink flowing. So this isn't a super dark color, but I'm going right over the top of these snowflakes. And I'm using the shape of the snowflake to kind of indicate the shape of the flower. So this one has some long petals, and each time the snowflake has kind of an arm or a little piece that comes out, I'm extending that flower out beyond that as well. So then I've got a second little flower, same color, but I'm really just doing dots kind of around the edges of that snowflake. This is the first card that I embossed, or card front that I embossed. So you're going to notice that these snowflakes are not all there. The second one is much more successful, and you'll see the finished product with the second card. So the centers of the flower I'm hitting with that darker yellow. I've got a B66 that's coming in next. I love these blues in the Copic range. They have a much more violet feel to them. So it's kind of, or B63, sorry. So it's a very different blue. Again, I'm working a second flower, extending where the little arms of the snowflake extends and coming out further, kind of right where that snowflake looks like it comes out. Notice this is completely freehand. I don't have a stencil I'm using, and I'm just working over the top of the snowflake. I've got another color going in my airbrush, and it is a V05, which is very bright, and this particular marker is very juicy, so it goes very quickly. Small circles for petals around the edges of each flower. Lastly, I'm going to use a little G9 to create the look of some leaves, and these are just going in between some of the flowers, and then there'll be 2 or 3 that come out from behind the flowers. So the last step is I'm taking a paper towel, and you could use just a soft cotton cloth, and dampening it with some colorless blender, and then brushing super lightly over the embossed snowflakes. If I rub or scrub, it's going to take off the Copic airbrush around the snowflakes, and all I'm trying to do is take it off the top of that embossing. This is where you can see that my actual stamping and embossing didn't work very well, where there's big chunks of snowflakes missing, but where it did kind of work, you can kind of see just those bright white snowflakes now reappearing as the centers of the flowers, and that was my goal. To finish the card, I'm going to use a sketch pen and a white opaque pen, and I also put a sentiment from a second stamp set at D2BA Artzy. Thanks so much for joining me today. Check out all of my personal doings over at my blog, scrapweaver.com. Have a happy, colorful day.